One, two, 1, 2. Are we live? Alright, I think we going live. What's good? Let me see. Testing 1, 2, 1, 2. Got the volume. Got the audio. Let me see here. Bear with me. This is new for me. I've never done this before. So let me see. Alright, I see 31 viewers. Hold on, hold on. Alright. What's poppin', Rapzilla? What's good, Rapzilla? Alright. Looks like we good to go. I see Chunky C, 316. I see Black Rise. Aha. What's going on? Talk to your boy. Alright. We up and running. So it's been a long wait. 3 years in the making. Hiatus. It's all said and done. The album is out there in the world, so y'all get to peer into my soul and what I've been up to. Alright, I got a delay over here. Let me see. How do I mute this? Okay, I think I'm good to go. It's on iTunes. It's on crossmovementrecords.com. It's on Amazon.com. It's at your corner store, the grocery store, and the checkout line. Nah, maybe not. But yeah. Party over here, y'all. The 23rd, tomorrow, you get a chance to party with your boy. 12 distinct parties. Actually, I think it's 11 parties and 2 remixes. Inviting y'all into the world. Let me see. Is the new album related to the book? I tried to make it not related to the book, but funny thing about writing a book is the book that I wrote, I spent 2 years researching and writing for that book, and then some more months editing for the book. So even though I tried to make the book and the album separate, the material from the book was so ingrained in me that I couldn't help separate the two. So yeah, the book and the album are related in the sense that everything that was in my soul during the process of book writing sort of came out in the book through songs like Pool Party, especially. Pool Party, I spent a lot of time the last couple of years looking at the issue of family and marriage and relationship and sex and premarital sex and extramarital sex. I spent 3 years in the schools in Philadelphia teaching abstinence and relationship education. So the song was literally birthed out of that experience. Release Party, you know, talking about forgiveness. A lot of what I'm teaching in the schools right now has to do with how you handle violence and how you handle anger. And I'm in the schools and I'm watching the young bucks who are quick to fight over any little thing. Then when I peered into the Christian community, I saw that we may not be quick to fight, but a lot of us are not quick to forgive. And so the idea of Release Party came through that. So the book came out of me teaching in the schools. The album came out of the book and the schools combined. So long answer to a short question. Let me see here. How does Christian rap lyrics compare to secular lyrics, i.e. Elzai, Lupe? Are we on par? What do y'all think? Are we on par? No comparison. What do you mean by no comparison? meaning the secular can't compare to what Christian hip hops is doing, or Christian hip hop can't compare to what secular is doing? What do you mean? Right. Um, I'll give you my take on it. I think that there are some dudes in the secular arena who have set some pretty high bars. Um, Pardon the pun. Um, but I think in the Christian arena, I like dudes like Shad K. I think what Shad K is doing lyrically, he raises the bar. Cats like Evangel, one of my favorites in the Christian market. I've found very few dudes in the secular who touch what Evangel does lyrically with his rhyme schemes. Stephen the Levite, once again, another one, rhyme schemes. If you haven't heard Stephen the Levite's Appetizer, that to me is, if there was a hip hop Hall of Fame, the Appetizer would have to go down up in the Hall of Fame, for the way that he schemed that whole song, 4 bars to 4 bars back to back. So I don't know. I wouldn't say overall, like, even when you look at the secular market overall, you don't have like a ton of excellent rhymers. You got maybe a nice handful out of the plethora who are great rhymers. And then I think the same thing in the Christian market. You probably have um, a handful out of a big batch who are excellent rhymers. Um, and it's just funny today. You don't have to be a good rhymer to be a good rapper. You don't have to be a good rhyme schemer, a good rhyme patterner to be a good rapper. You just have to have a good voice, a good presence, swag, and next thing you know, you're a good rapper. So I don't know. Do we compare? I think that there's some dudes in the Christian market who are killing it. Some dudes in the secular who are killing it. But then you got a lot of other stuff happening too. Um, yeah, lamp mode cats, lyrically gifted. Um, you know what? I always say this about the secular versus the Christian. We've got such a hard job to do. You know what I mean? Like the Christian rapper has to say something. Like it's easy, and I know I might get in trouble for saying this with the younger generation, but it's easy to listen to Lil Wayne and listen to what he does. First of all, I gotta be honest, Lil Wayne has impressed me recently. I don't know if somebody's ghostwriting for him or what, but he has impressed me. Maybe it's all the time he spends in the studio, but he has come leaps and he's grown leaps and bounds lyrically. Not that he's a good rhyme schemer, but he's mastered the art of simile. But I think there's so many other literary devices that we could be using, that if all you're doing is using simile, such and such like such and such, then you don't get into metaphors, you don't get into a lot of wordplay and alliteration. It's just all simile. But I think the Christian rapper doesn't just have the challenge of saying something skillfully, he has the challenge of saying something, period. Which the secular rapper doesn't have to say something. They just have to say it skillfully. So I think the Christian has a tougher hill to climb up. And we're not cursing, so you also have to not just say something skillfully and not just have to say something, you also have to say it without resorting to buzzwords or curse words, or there's so many things that are off limits in terms of crutches that we could use to get past a certain bar count. We don't have those crutches, and yet we still do it. So I don't know. Take that with you. Let me scroll up, make sure I'm not missing anything here. Am I still teaching at the school? My job actually got shut down about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, because the funding just there was no funding in this day and age for what we do. But because what we did in the schools was so needed, I had several schools tell me that there's nobody else on the East Coast who's doing what we were doing. So even though my job is shut down, I'm still going into the schools on a volunteer basis, not getting paid for it, but I think the need, somebody to be in the schools, representing morality, representing values, representing just an alternative to the way that they're living. but also in a cultural context that they can appreciate. That's such a need. I'm trying to encourage more Christian hip hop cats to look at what roles can we play in society where we become more tangible and more touchable to the people that we say we're trying to reach, which may include us having to leave the studio to do it. So yeah. Let me scroll down. Let me mute this because I'm hearing too many sounds coming from it. Great concept, by the way. Amen. 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 I'm scrolling up and down. I'm sorry, I'm just reading. I got a question for y'all, for you. Is Black Raz the same RAS Raz that I see on Holy Culture? I keep getting booted back to the top and I'm trying to scroll back down. Let me see. Appreciate that. Condolences on my job situation. MTV teaching like Tony Danza. You know what? I think it would be banging. If y'all got a chance, I'm not bragging at all. If y'all got a chance to see the stuff that's happening in the classroom, if you haven't got a chance to check out my book, The Death of Hip Hop, Marriage and Morals, I'm literally teaching that book in the classroom. And so I get a chance to go at it from the cultural aspect to the moral aspect, dealing with family and relationship, and then take it to the moral aspect. I think it would be some great stuff for a reality TV show to see the conversations and where it actually goes in the classroom. That would be hot. Let me see. Yes, I'm the same dude. Raz. How do I say it? Raz like the rapper, right? Let me see. How often do I write lyrics? I'll come back to Raz in a second. But how often do I write lyrics? Some of y'all may already know I don't write lyrics in the first place. I don't write anything down. Most of what I do lyrically, it happens up here. When I get busy doing one thing, my mind is subconsciously working in the background, putting rhymes together. And so it's easiest for me to write when I'm doing something else. Like if I'm washing dishes or if I'm driving around the city, my mind will be like putting lyrics together. Matter of fact, this whole album was written me driving around my city past midnight, looking at the people that I like writing to. And as I'm playing these beats, you know, Tiwala hit me off with a slew of beats that I just was feeling. And I'm driving around the city listening to these beats and I'm putting lyrics together in my head. How often do I write? This album was the first time that I tried to write lyrics in 3 years, literally. I thought I was done with hip hop. I thought, not hip hop, I'm sorry. I thought I was done with rapping. When I started writing this book about 2.5 years ago, all my creative energies were going into this book. And Tonic asked me at the end of 2009, Tonic called and said, yo, we putting together the roster for next year. Are you going to do another album? And I told Tonic, no, I'm done rapping. I'm going into writing and teaching and more public speaking. And I literally was for real. This was like I had retired. But as soon as I got done with the book, I'm sitting in the crib one day and all of my creative energies, all of my thoughts somehow just started rhyming again. And I'm like, yo, like what's going on? I don't even want to be rapping right now, but my thoughts started rhyming. And I said to myself, Dad, let me just see if I can put a verse together. And a verse came together. Then another verse came together. And it was a song I didn't even end up putting on the album. But after the second verse came together, I called Tonic and I said, yo, I know I told you I'm not going. This is like April of this year. I called Tonic. I said, yo, I know I told you I'm not going to do another album, but it looks like the creative juices are starting to coalesce in rhyme form again. Is it too late to put me on the roster for this year? And it just so happened that something happened with the roster where somebody they were going to release didn't release, and they said, yo, we could fit you in November. And I said, wow, what do you know? So I don't, that's a long answer to the question, I'm sorry, but I really don't write often. This album was the first time I tried to write in almost 3 years, and by God's grace, when I started trying to write, the creative juices and all the energies just flowed that way, and I wrote this album. I didn't rush it, but I wrote this album in about 2 weeks. From the time I started writing it to the time I got finished, 2 weeks, the album was finished writing. And yeah, to the glory of God, yo, it was just crazy. Let me see. Let me scroll up for a second. All right. Let me just clear something up real quick for Roz. Let me just holler at you real quick. You did a little review of my book on YouTube, which was kind of funny, by the way. But yeah, you even said something on there about my reference to hip hop and Slick Rick and the era of when I was saying hip hop actually began, or what era it began with. I think you may have misread some of what I was saying there. You might want to go back and check out what I was saying to make sure you got me on that, because I don't want you to misquote or miscritique that joint. But good to see you on the joint, man. Glad you're here. Every time I scroll down, this joint pops back up. Let me see, where am I at? I need to come holler at the 5th graders. I don't do 5th grade, yo. 5th grade, I like them. I like them from 7th grade on up, around 12 years old. 5th grade, they haven't yet grasped the concept of consequences, and so most of what I'm talking about is over their heads. Around 7th and 8th grade, they begin to catch consequences, and they can relate to some of my subject matter. So I like the 5th graders. They're nice, and maybe I shouldn't say this, but most of the 5th graders I've run into are still innocent, and I like them that way. But by the time I get to them in 7th grade, a lot of that innocence is gone, and I'm putting worldviews back together after the media has basically destroyed them. Let me see. How do I answer the critics that say hip hop is worldly and not Christian, regardless of the lyrics? Do we want to dive into that one this early? Hip hop is worldly. I agree. But so is everything else in the world. Jesus prayed for his disciples and said, Father, I'm praying not that you, he said, if I was praying for them not to come in contact with, not to have an impact on, not to be even impacted by this world, Jesus said, I would have to pray that you take them out of this world. I don't want you to take them out of this world, but I want you to sanctify them in the world. And so I think part of what Jesus prayed is not that we run from the world in a sense that the world came up with it, we can't touch it. We'd have to leave the world if we were trying to never touch anything that was quote unquote worldly. It was created by people who either didn't know God. Like, you can't catch a plane from Philadelphia to California. Why? Because planes were invented by non-believers. Like, you'd have to leave the world to not touch things that unbelievers had a hand in. But God doesn't want us to leave the world. God wants us to put his fingerprint on everything in the world. And so the only things that are unredeemable are sin, Satan, and demons. Outside of that, it's redeemable. And God wants to see it redeemed. So yeah, hip hop is worldly. But the world is worldly until God gets a hold of it. And when God gets a hold of hip hop is not worldly. Hip hop is now holy. Um, and that's a very surface answer. So I'm not saying that to shut up anybody. I'm saying that to invite you into a conversation about what does it really mean when you call something worldly. So we can keep that dialogue going. I'm gonna be here for a couple hours. So let's do it. Let me see here. You missed my question. Why did you choose the right pool party? Or why did you choose pool party as the first single? uh, Cruz corrected me. I misread it. Oh, so Cruz already got what you wanted. Okay, cool. Talking to Roz real quick. Still misspelled Lecrae. I know. I spelled it. Look, yeah, you're right. I misspelled Lecrae, and I owe him a thousand apologies for that. Um, this is the first edition. There will be a second edition where things I misspelled will get caught. I had two people edit this book after I edited the book, and both of them missed several things. But I self-published, which means I didn't have a publishing house and an editor going through it to catch every single mistake. So you're going to find some mistakes in it. But the second edition, I should be able to address most of that kind of stuff. So keep that in prayer. Why did I choose Pool Party as the first single? I think because if you watched the video series I did called Phanatik Speaks, there 4 videos make up the series called Phanatik Speaks, and I got a couple more coming, but so far there's 4 of them. One of the things that I was trying to stress in that video is I think the angle or the trajectory upon which Christian hip hop comes to the world to meet the current situation, I think the trajectory is changing, and I think that some of us may still need to come the way Christian hip hop has formerly come. I think some of us may need to turn the corner to say, wait a minute, maybe I need to, if I'm going to address this secular culture where they are, what are the issues that matter to them right now? If the issues that matter to them right now are not ideological issues of philosophy or even theology, like it used to be when hip hop was based in the Northeast, but now the issues are issues of morality, then how does the Christian talk moral talk but still bring it to the gospel? And when I look at the kids that I deal with every day, one of the premier issues that these kids deal with, aside from anger and violence, is sex, intimacy, and family. And so because I wanted to meet the culture where they are right now, speaking the language they're speaking right now, I said the song on the album that I think speaks most readily to the issues that people that I deal with are facing right now is probably Pool Party. And Pool Party, I don't know, like I heard a lot of comments about Pool Party. Some loved it, some hated it, some didn't get it, some did. One of the first responses I saw to Pool Party, somebody said, what is this? Like, this sounds like a moral lesson. As if Christians and non-believers alike are not in need of a moral lesson right now. I believe we are. I believe that Christians are doing just as poorly in issues of morality as non-believers are, and we need to address it. So what I did in Pool Party, if you caught it, even the beginning, what's happening, baby? Let your man be good, talk to you. I'm mocking the artist Plies. If you heard the song a couple years ago, 2008, one of the way Plies used to come into his songs, what's happening, baby? Plies and Jamie Foxx on Please Excuse My Hands. That's how he came into the song. And so the style that I'm using in the song, the reason why I'm not doing the whole, rapping fast and different styles like you're used to hearing me rap, is because in the song, I'm mocking Plies and I'm mocking Ludacris in the way that they rap, not just what they say, but even how they say it. So that's why Pool Party came out first and why it sounded sort of the way it did. Let me see here. I know I missed a couple questions because I'm talking real long. I see that comment. Somebody echo what Truth said. We'd have to stop playing soccer if we wanted to stop touching things that were worldly. True. Must heard what I said. Yeah, y'all caught that on Recess back in the day. Um, do I love having an entire album revolving around one theme or concept? I do. I'm a very conceptual dude. I'm a very um, like I love word association. I like tying in things that you know connections that normal people wouldn't see. So if I can make these connections and keep it going, I'll do that. I did an album like this because, to be honest with you, um, I wasn't even trying to at first. It was only after the first two songs came together, Pool Party and then Release Party, that I started saying, "Dag, what if I just made everything a party?" It seemed like to start coming together that way. Um, but also because when I think about how music goes today, I'm so saddened by the fact that people don't live with albums anymore. You hear an album, you rush through it real quick, and you find the songs on the album that you think you'll like, and you listen to those. But because there's always another upload from another artist, even while you're in the middle of downloading one thing, you never get a chance to live with an album because you're rushing to get the next thing that just came out. I remember back when, before the days of downloads and iTunes, when you had to rock a CD, I remember, and this is before there were 1,000,001 Christian rap albums coming out every year. There may have been maybe 5 or 6 good Christian rap albums in a year, and you were lucky to get those. But because there was so few, you got a chance to live with an album for at least a month or two before the next thing came out. And in that, think about back before there was so much music for you to get. Have you ever had an album, rap, gospel, whatever kind of genre it was, where when you got the album, you had your favorites on the album? But then the more you listened to it, there were certain songs that you hated at first. You skipped over those songs. But the more you listen to the album, the ones that used to be your favorite, you kind of got tired of hearing those. So you said, you know what, let me go back to those songs I didn't like at first. And you gave them another listen, and you said, Dad, you know what? I didn't like this song at first, but now this joint is catching me. And before you knew it, the song that you used to hate on the album became your favorite on the album. I remember having those experiences. And so I'm like, are we past the days of somebody being able to put out an album and you take the album as a whole and you live with it long enough till you get a chance to appreciate, oh, now I see what he was doing on number 13. I didn't like it at first, but now that I live with it for a while, now I know what he was doing and I get it now. So the idea of having all the songs on the album be a different kind of party was sort of a way for me to kind of lure listeners into, let me not just get 1 or 2 songs. Maybe since it's such a thematic album, maybe I ought to listen to the whole thing before I just decide which ones I'm going to like and not like. So the whole album having one theme or one concept was a way to sort of get people interested in all of it and not just the quote-unquote singles. So hopefully it'll do some of that. Let me see. The soul of hip hop and the hip hop church. I have looked at both of them, but I haven't really had time to read them. I know Ephraim Smith, who wrote Hip Hop Church. I haven't had a chance to really get into the soul of hip hop. What did you think about it if you read it? Was it insightful? And if you've read that, did you get a chance to read my book, and could you compare the two of them? Let me see. What was the most difficult track to write on the album? Wow. I don't think there was a difficult track to write on the album. I lied to you not, y'all. I lied to you not. I wrote this album in 2 weeks, and it flowed so beautifully from my mind into the formation that it took. It was a lot of, my style is a lot of word association and connecting the dots between thoughts and concepts. And so I thought the story going away party where I'm talking about Adam and Eve leaving Eden, I thought that was going to be a hard song to write because I was trying to say, man, a lot of people have talked about the fall before, right? Um, Ambassador did it on It Was Love. Disciple did it on his album. A lot of people have written songs about the fall, but I wanted to write about the fall in a way that was not going to be traditional. Um, and so I said, how could I do this? And the idea of them going away from the garden seemed like a good emotional way to attack that story. And I thought it was going to be hard, but once again, the Lord met me, and it flowed. It really did flow to the point where there wasn't a hard song to write on the album. Not because I was lazy and I just wrote whatever I wanted to write. I think it's very, very good writing, and somehow the Lord just made it very, very easy. Bless the brother with, in that approach. Let me see. That's a good question. Do I think I could have possibly started a trend among Christian hip hoppers with moving from writing lyrics to also writing books? Um, Let me say this to start some trouble. I feel sadly that the only trends that take off in Christian hip hop are trends that get you put on a platform. Trends that are going to get you either more sales or more shows. I think Christian hip hop has become very trendy, not in the sense of what's effective, what's going to impact ministry right now. One of the things the cross movement has always sought out to do was model that sons of Issachar, looking at what's going on, knowing the times and knowing what to do. I don't see a lot of Christian rappers looking at the times and, you know what needs to be done right now? We need to shift from doing that to doing this. I see a lot of people saying, what's going to get me on? What's going to get me more shows? What's going to get me more sales, more recognition? So if my book doesn't take off and get me more recognition, I don't think it will become trendy for Christian rappers to do it. Even though I know that what we need is more Christian people who are not necessarily Christian rappers, but Christian and hip hop. Christian hip hop people need to expand the areas of their ministry so that they're not just rapping, but they're also teaching, they're also writing, but I don't think just anybody can do that. I think you really need to be qualified to do that. If you get my book, you'll see that this is not just a dude talking about his experience of hip hop. This is one of the things that I learned in Bible college, which you'll learn in college, period. If you don't take shortcuts, you'll learn how to do real research, and you'll learn how to really write. So I don't think any and everybody should just go writing a book, but I do think we need more people who are qualified to do so, writing or vlogging or doing whatever it is you do today to get thoughts codified and in a form that you can transmit them to other people outside of just rapping, because I think rapping can become very redundant unless you're doing it in a way that people are drawn into listening and into dialogue. Let me see here. I've never heard Plies. You don't want to hear Plies. Like I said, when I did Pool Party, I've had to spend much more time in secular hip hop than I've had to in a while. I had to re-engage and dive into the world of my students and hear what they were hearing, which means I had to subject myself to a lot of what I think is personally a lot of whackness and a lot of foulness. So listening to people like Plies and who else? Gucci Man. I mean, listening to these guys and just having to see, man, these are the people who are these are the new Pied Pipers of the next generation. I've had to acquaint myself with these guys and see if I could use any of what they do in what I'm doing. What future plans, goals do I have for the Urban Remix Project? Urban Remix Project is going to become just a spoke in a wheel. I have an organization that I'm trying to get off the ground now that will allow me to do more teaching and public speaking. The stuff that I'm doing in the high schools in Philadelphia now, I want to be able to do that um, in churches and in universities around the country. So Urban Remix Project is going to probably be the literary arm of an organization that I'm about to launch midway through 2011, but much more public speaking and addressing the culture on issues of morality and faith. Um, what areas do I feel I need to improve on as an MC, if any? So here's a good chance for me to be very prideful and say I'm a perfect MC. I don't need to improve on anything at all. Huh. But no, I wouldn't say that. What issues do I think I need to improve on? I think definitely I've been scolded for saying this in the past, but I do think that um, my strength can also be my weakness. One of my strengths is I'm very conceptual. I did a listening party for my album in Atlanta, down at Reach Studios actually. I don't know what it's called, wherever the guys from Reach record. And one of the people who was there at the listening party said to me, she said, I like the wordplay and I like having to dive into the puns and all that, but sometimes when I listen to a song, this was her critique of a song I just played. She said, sometimes when I listen to a song, I don't want to have to think. I just want to listen and enjoy. So I think, and when I heard that, I tried to not project that comment on the entire southern region of the country, because I know a lot of cats in the South hate when they're pigeonholed to that idea of they don't like intellectual hip hop. But when and I don't even think she's from the South, but when she said that, it made me say to myself, dag, why can't I write in a way that doesn't make people have to think? I don't apologize for that, but I do know that there is probably a large slice of listeners who feel like they don't want to have to put their listening or their thinking cap on when they're listening to hip hop. But I come from an era where that's what you did. So as an MC, could I get to the point where I'm just so smooth lyrically, my timing and all that stuff is just so in the pocket that I'm not trying to stuff ideas into my raps. Not necessarily just dumbing it down, but just more simplistic to the point where the listener is not always having to be on their toes. I could get better at doing that. I think on this album, I've gotten better at disguising the fact that this is a thinking rap. There's some songs in this album where you can listen to them and think, oh, this wasn't deep at all, until you really put your mind in third or fourth gear, like, oh, wait, I see what he's doing. Also, my timing. I've heard people say, man, Phanatik don't ride the beat. Phanatik don't ride the beat. I don't know if there's sometimes where I feel like, dag, I didn't ride the beat because I had so many words that I was just, but then there are other times where I feel like, yo, I rode the beat, but there's such a thing as polyrhythms where most people don't understand what polyrhythms are. They don't listen for the beats in between the beats. All they listen for is the 2/4. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Everything happens on the 2 and 4, but there are polyrhythms in between that 1, 2, 3, 4. So when I'm rapping, sometimes when you hear, yo, he's not riding the beat, it's because I'm not on the 2 and 4. I'm in between the rhythms. And there are just some MCs who that's how they rhyme. That's their style. I think Talib is one of those dudes who I've heard people complain about how many words he stuffs in his joint, and man, it just seems like he's off beat, but really he's not off beat. He's in between the rhythm, and I think he does it extremely well. I don't think I do it as well as Talib, and so I think that's something that if that's going to be a style I employ, I need to master that better as an MC. So hopefully that answers that question somewhat satisfactorily. Why do I believe there are virtually no female Christian MCs signed to one of the major Christian hip-hop labels? Wow. Wow. Anyone I could turn you guys on to. If you guys were local in Philadelphia, you would have the pleasure of hearing some talented sisters who are part of a group. It's not really a group, it's more like a ministry team of just talented artists, a crew called Elisha. Um, and there's a sister by the name of Monielle who sings and is a pretty beastly lyricist as well. She's a good rapper. I don't know what she touts herself as because she dances, she mimes, she raps, she sings. Um, she's ridiculous. But I don't know if she's planning on doing an album. Another sister named Desiree who does spoken word. She's part of the Elisha team, I believe. But she just started rapping too, and just started rapping, and she's already a beast. Um, there are some sisters around the country who I've heard who get busy. What's her name? Is it Susie? Susie, forgive me. She rhymes with Lecrae on his album on the So High joint. She's pretty tight with it. Um, so those are the ones that I could probably turn you on, but I don't know many. Why do I think there are none? I probably could start some trouble if I say this, but I do think that hip hop has always been very patriarchal, very male dominant. There's something about, if you get my book in chapter 7 and 8 of my book, I talk about the role of the male in the home and in the culture as leader, and just that role as leader. When you get on the mic, you may not even realize it, but the second you pick up that mic, you are taking on the mantle of leader. So anytime you take on the mantle of leader, it is going to be tough in our culture for a female to rise to the status of leader, which is why even on the secular side, females have always had to, one of two things: sound like men, or sound like men want a female to sound, which is seductive. If she doesn't sound like a man and doesn't sound like a man wants a female to sound, she's not going to get on. Even with Nicki Minaj and the way that she's risen to the ranks right now, she did it by sounding like men want a female to sound. So she likes women just like men like women. And she talks about women just as provocatively as men do. She is mega talented, but her talent didn't get her on. As a leader in hip hop, she rose up by sounding like men want a female to sound, or by sounding like men sound. Why is that? In the Christian market, you still can't get a female to rise up. I think it's the patriarchal society that we live in that just you're not used to hearing directive commands from a female. But I do think females have a voice that needs to be heard, especially in the Christian realm. We need to hear from our sisters, our godly sisters. Let me see. Soul is my #1 book of the year. I'd like to get my hands on your book. We'll talk about that soon. My book is available right now on urbanremixproject.com, or you can buy it in conjunction with the album. Buy the album and get the book for $19.99. You get them both for under $20, which is an amazing deal. I'll lie to you not, y'all. I had a brother the other night who was over one of Impact, the Impact movement. He's over their ministry, and this brother hit me up the other night and said, "Yo, this is one of the most significant books I've ever read. You guys gotta get this book." I'll talk more about the book in a little bit, but let me get to some more of these questions. Soul, my #1 book of the year. I gotta check it out then. Let me see. I'm missing questions. I don't know why some of these questions are disappearing. There was a question on here about when I flow. Is there a way to go back and find that question? because I can't scroll up to it anymore. If you can ask it again. What issues do you feel Christian hip hop is? Wait, what issues do you feel is Christian hip hop from furthering as a ministry, or I guess you meant to say from hindering Christian hip hop from furthering as a ministry or collective industry? Um, hmm, I don't know. I don't know. As a collective industry, I think one of the things that hinders us is like the gospel is an anchor. It's a weight. Um, the very fact that we're carrying this message that is offensive is going to hinder the industry as a whole. Um, what do you do about that? Do you chuck the message overboard so that the industry can grow? I don't think so, but I do think you're going to have to live with the handicap of I have this heavy message to carry. Um, the Bible says men love darkness for their deeds are evil. They're not going to run to light. So if you have light in your music, it's going to be extremely hard to blow. Um, I do think one of the things that hinders is cross movement tried to make a run at this back in 2005, between 2005 and 2008. The industry as a whole has not respected Christian hip hop as a marketable product, primarily because I don't know. I think the buyers or the market base, do we buy Christian hip hop like that? The fact that Lecrae is selling the way he's selling now, I think has a lot to do with the fact that he sort of has gone over to a contingent of people who don't mind paying for the stuff that they value. Um, this is not a racist comment, but I do think that the very fact that he's gotten into circles that are outside of the black church, now he's dealing with people who don't have a problem putting their money where they say their heart is. But I think before now, the industry looked at Christian hip hop and said, man, it's not even really selling like that. Why should we get behind it? So the radio and the retail didn't open the doors to it like that, which is sort of problematic. Um, that's a good question. Now I'm struggling here because, like I said, there's some questions that have been asked and I can't scroll up to see them. Let me scroll down and see if anybody's giving me a remedy as to how to get up to those questions. Nah, sorry. I'm missing some of you guys' questions. Maybe I need to stop taking so long to um, answer these questions. Do I think that Cross Movement Records is going in a new or different direction with some of the artists, Level 316, K Drama, Young Joshua? I know I've heard Tonic's Heart recently, and Tonic's Heart, Tonic looked at a lot of what's going on, especially with Level 316 and the young guys. You know, they're not really young, but Young Joshua and K Drama, as a chance to say, you know what? I think part of the idea behind Cross Movement was, especially Cross Movement Records, was taking the light that God had shown on us and finding others who we deemed, you know, what they're doing is so important right now. We need to take the light that we have and see if we can shine it on them. Different direction, I think so. I have some thoughts as to, is the direction really that different? I think in some ways it is, and in some ways it's not. Am I ready to speak on how I think it is? I think Cross Movement has always been known for having a certain way about us. Having a certain way, having a philosophy of ministry, some things that we were protecting. Some things that we were protecting in the name of We want this to be looked at as a market that has certain standards. Standards not just musically, but standards as far as the message goes. Um, and so in that regard, I don't think Cross Movement Records has changed at all. They're still the standard for the music. They're still the standard for the message. Um, I do think there's some changes, but I think I need to think more carefully about what the changes may be. So I may come back to how is it different today. Um, how is it different? I'm going to think on that, and I'll come back to that. Um, blah blah blah. I think that's a sweeping generalization that is completely unquantifiable. All I hear is me, me, me. What is that conversation about? I need to know. Um, what issues or topics would you like to hear covered more often in this genre? Um, issues or topics. I like, or not like, I love Jay San's album. I think Jay San's album is a perfect representation of sort of what I'm saying in terms of, is our subject matter, are the songs that we're making meeting the culture where the culture is. So Jason comes on and he talks about a song like Parent Me. That's exactly where the culture is right now. I think that Christian hip hop as a whole should come together behind that song and push that song to the max so that the secular world gets the sense that, they always say a crowd draws a crowd. I'd love to see a crowd gather around that song and say, yo, they're all talking about that. Let's see what they're saying about that, because I think that song needs more light. Other topics that Christian hip hop should be addressing. I do think there's some issues of morality that we need to be addressing. We talk about the failure rate of marriage being just the same inside the church as it is outside the church. The Pew Foundation just did a poll, or released the results of a poll earlier this week, last week, where they said that 4 out of 10 Americans say that marriage has become obsolete. I think that we need to do more to address not just marriage, but why is marriage failing in the church and outside the church. I think the issues of family, broken family, and the shards of broken family that we spend our lives walking past, white, black, inner city, suburban. I truly think that probably should be something that we find a way to model that God has granted us grace to succeed in, and then 2, the ability to artistically address these issues. I feel like I need to move faster because I'm missing some of these questions. What are some tips I would give for better promotion? If I knew, I'd probably be better promoted. I don't know, yo. This is such a new age in terms of how people promote. I've never been a fan of self-promotion. I have the hardest time. I've sent, if you go to my Twitter account, you'll see I've sent like 35 tweets in my whole life. Like, I'm not a fan of self-promotion, but we're in the age of self-promotion. I don't know. I've always been a fan of letting the Lord promote you. Letting another man speak well of you. Let another man praise you, Scripture says. So I really don't know. I couldn't answer that one. I'm sorry, yo. Have I ever thought of putting out a spoken word album? My style does seem to lend itself to that, but I don't like spoken word. So what are you gonna do? Susie Rock, that's her name. Yep, Susie Rock, killer lyricist, female lyricist. Y'all should check her out. How did I go about self-publishing my book? Amazon.com has a self-publishing arm called Create Space. They bought the company Create Space, which was a self-publishing company, and now they do all their self-publishing through them. That's who I used. That's interesting. Somebody, Hill City said, is that Hill City Parables? Is that Adam? Somebody said the black church is very female dominant, so it's funny that that we have this issue with hearing female voices leading us in hip hop. Amazing dynamic. But that's because hip hop as a culture did not follow the black church in becoming very female dominant. Hip hop was very male dominant because having a base in the Northeast, the religion of choice in the Northeast were always the inner city black cults like the Gods and Earths or Nation of Islam. So because hip hop didn't follow the trend of the black church, hip hop never picked up on having females be our dominant voice. So that's why you find that distinction there. Let me see here. So the age of females like Lauryn Hill and Queen Latifah are over. I hope this doesn't sound too unchristian to say, but I find myself at times praying, not literally praying, but wishing for the return of Lauryn Hill. I just think culturally she added so much. There's so many conversations that we could have so much more easily and so much better if someone like a Lauryn Hill was in the culture today. But we don't even have that as a straw man to go off of because she doesn't even exist these days. Let me see. I'm scrolling down. Oh, there goes the question. How did you and CM write when I flow? Did y'all take turns? No. I wrote the first verse and I divided the first verse up among parts. Ambassador wrote the second verse and he divided it up in parts and gave us our parts. And then Tonic wrote the third verse and he divided it up and gave us our parts. Then I wrote the second part of the chorus. When I flow is gospel, our soul is gospel. And Tonic wrote the first part of the chorus. If no one to see what the world is, he ain't no lie. I don't even remember the words, but we chopped it all up like that. What are you reading in your word and how is it impacting you? Right now I am going through Mark. I'm going through Mark for the second time in the last couple of months, trying to get a good handle on Jesus through the eyes of Mark. How is it impacting me? One of the biggest things that's hitting me is the way Jesus did miracles in Mark and the reasons why Jesus did miracles. It would seem that what Jesus did throughout the book of Mark, according to Mark's account, was Jesus was not doing miracles to create belief. Jesus was doing miracles to confirm belief. Because your belief was in the right thing, because your belief was in the right person, because your belief was in the fact that he is the Christ, the miracle was to confirm you got the right one, baby. As opposed to, if I do this miracle, will you believe? It wasn't to create belief, it was to confirm belief. So I look at my life and I'm looking at things that I want the Lord to do, and I'm saying, man, am I waiting for the Lord to do them before I believe? Or do I recognize that I'm dealing with a God who does miracles, but as a way to confirm the fact that your belief was on point in the first place? Can I find myself believing even before God does, quote unquote, the miracle or answer the prayer? Not believing that he will answer the prayer, just believing in who and how he is and what he said about himself. So that's what I'm reading right now, and that's what's sort of hitting me. I'm tempted to dodge that question. Any chance for a CM reunion album? With God, all things are possible. Let me see. Do I enjoy the role of being sort of like a KRS-One respected OG amongst younger Christian rappers? I guess. I don't know. In making this album, I found a lot of young guys, not young in age necessarily, just in terms of when they came to Christian hip hop. I found a lot of young guys coming to me saying, "Yo, like you're the." It was interesting. I had a lot of producers even coming at me saying, "Yo, you don't know, like you're the reason why I'm even doing Christian hip hop these days." Um, People who I thought didn't even know who I was, telling me that they were impacted by stuff that I did with CM way back in the day, or even my solo albums back in the day. Um, do I enjoy that role? I don't think I enjoy the role as much as I like to, because to me that role is not really going to be fully in effect until I find myself doing more mentoring to these younger guys. So if they respect me from afar, yo, we like your stuff, yo, you was tight back in the day, or yo, you still killing it. That's all well and good, but I don't know how much stock I put in that. I think I'll enjoy the role a lot more when I find myself doing more mentoring. There are a few young guys who are sticking close, and I'm mentoring them, and or at least adding to their discipleship process. I enjoy that role more than the head nod of respect as an OG in the Christian hip hop game. Um, where did I get the jacket on the album cover? Should I tell you? No, I'm not gonna tell you. I got it. I got it at a place here in Philly, and you'll be like amazed if you find out what I paid for it. But tight jacket. Let me see. Christian rap should push boundaries, also be allowed by their fans to do so, because the moment they do, boom, you're too worldly. Interesting. Interesting. Let me see. Susie Rock. Susie Rock. Just go to YouTube and type in Susie Rock, and you'll find out who she is. She's a rapper. I believe she's from like the Northwest, I believe. But I met her down in Atlanta, rocking with Craig. Where can I buy the album and the book combo you were talking about? Go to www.crossmovement.com, and you can order the book and the album for under $20, and that's only a limited time. So y'all should get up on that. All right. www.crossmovement.com. You can get the book and the album for under $20 right now, and they'll ship it out to you lickety split. Let me see. Let me clarify something for all of the hip hop heads out there who might say Susie Rock's not a lyricist. I would have to say I don't know if she's a lyricist. I haven't heard enough of her stuff, but she's an extremely talented rapper. There's a difference, right? Lyricist is putting words together in ways that make you have to respect their the grind they put into the rhyme schemes, the literary devices that authors use. Literary devices are things like wordplay, alliteration, a metaphor, simile, hypercatastasis, things like that. I don't know if she does that stuff as much as just as a rapper. She is blazing, ridiculous. So check out Susie Rock. Is it selfish when I tell my if it wait? Is it selfish when I tell my story while rapping about the Lord too? I think I would say if you simply rephrased that, then no, it's not selfish, because to say tell my story while rapping about the Lord too makes it sound like you're telling two different stories, when really the point of our album, His Story, Cross Movement's last album, His Story, your story is not your story. Your story is only a small slice of His story. Um, so if you tell your story while telling His story too, I do think that's selfish, not to come at your neck or nothing like that. But you shouldn't have a story that's separate from his story. If you tell his story while telling your story, then you become the byproduct, but he's the end, and you're just a means to the end. So I would say, nah, it's not selfish if while you're telling his story, which means you have to know his story, if you throw your story in there too, because your story is part of his story. Um, the end of the song "Welcome Party," I say, um, how do I say it? Um, you know, he's telling a story. You know, he's about his glory. Um, Everyone who was once against him now is for him. I messed up the whole rhyme, but basically, he's telling a story that at the end he'll get the glory from it. And your story is a part of that. So yeah, feel free to tell your story, but make sure that it accurately tells his story. And then I don't think you have to worry about being called selfish. Um, Let me see. If you guys haven't realized, you can't post a URL on this site. If you post a URL, it's not gonna take. Um, so maybe try to spell out what you're saying, or just pray that the brother or sister finds their way to it. Um, oh, I'm sorry, Dag, Light the Flow Minister. Yep, somebody just shouted her out. You can check her out. Um, can I talk about different ciphers that we've had on our albums? Um, yeah, what was the first one? Cipher something. Was there a name to it? Um, on Heaven's Mentality. Was there a name to that cipher? I don't even know. After that, it was Cipher the Next Day. Um, Cipher 911. Which I've heard somebody say that wasn't a real cipher because they had a theme. Um, After Cipher the Next Day was what, Eternal Cipher, where we had Todd Bangs and Jay Silas and Truth, and after that, My Life Cipher, and then the Last Cipher. What can I say about them? They just became habitual, much like the H's at the beginning of the album. We did it once and did it a second time just out of, yo, let's do it again. And after the second time, it just seemed like you can't stop now. I remember when I was growing up, I was an EPMD fan, and those are, if you know EPMD, every album had a song about Jane. Jane was the way that they kind of sewed the thread from each album. And even when they split up, they still, at least um, not Parish, E kept the theme of Jane going. So I guess the cipher is our way of having like a Jane running throughout the course of our albums. I don't know what else you want to say about the cipher, so you can ask a question and I'll answer it. Let me see. Have me and Lecrae ever talked about doing a track? No, me and Lecrae never talked about doing a track. I was like, when I first heard I'm a F-A-N-A-T-I-C Phanatik, I said, yo, it'd be dope to do a remix of that with me on it. But I didn't say it to him. I just heard the song, was like, yo, I wonder if, but I don't spell my name that way, so that's probably why I never brought it up, because I'm a Phanatik. Let me see. Do I think the works of Thabiti and Anthony Bradley and Anthony Carter adequately address the theological issues prevalent in the black church? Sorry, haven't read their works. No Thabiti, kicked it with him at Legacy, but I haven't really read his works. I had my head down, y'all, for the last 3 years. I have not, I literally have been in the schools, diving into the culture of the kids that I'm teaching, and every day after I got home from teaching, I dove into researching and writing this book. I haven't had a chance to listen to Christian hip hop. I heard Lecrae's album Rebel 2 years after it came out. Even the dudes who were on the label, Process, and I heard their albums way after they came out because I was so engrossed in what I was doing that I haven't had a chance to listen to much, read much outside of what I was doing. So now that I'm done, I plan on diving back into stuff that I missed. I was thoroughly enjoying Young Josh's album, Thinking Out Loud, but I didn't even get a chance to really to dive into that like I wanted because I was so busy in everything that I was doing. To me, that album is ridiculous, and I can't wait to get back into it on the road trips I got coming up soon. Let me see here. Who taught me how to MC? Nobody. And some of y'all are probably saying, yeah, I can tell. That was a joke. Don't laugh at that. Who taught me how to MC? Just growing up in Philadelphia, man, in the Northeast, you had your favorites. You listened to, your Big Daddy Kings, your EPMDs, your Busta Rhymes, your Wu-Tangs, I had cats on the West Coast that I love, Hieroglyphics, cats like Pep Love, and dudes like that. And they say imitation is the highest form of flattery. And I think I listened to what I liked so much that I was able to take what I liked from each style and blend it into my own, which is why when you listen to me, it's hard to peg what my style is, because after I get bored very easy because I like a plethora of different styles. So when I did, some of you guys have even said the second verse on the album, the second verse on the song Block Party, probably one of the tightest verses on the album, because I kept the scheme and the style the whole way through. But if you listen to it, even that verse, I switched up the style. Even though I kept the scheme, I switched the style up about every 4 bars because I don't like using the same style the whole way through. I have a lot of styles in my head, and I want to employ all those different styles in one verse. So if you don't like the style switching up, you're not going to like my style. I might even be more successful as a rapper if I picked one style for one song and kept it the whole way through. But the way my mind and my heart artistically works, I'm going to use a style for as long as I like it, and then as soon as I have a different theme or idea, I'm going to switch styles with that idea. So sorry if that rubs some the wrong way. Will those who pre-order get the book and the CD download tomorrow? No, if you pre-order the book and the CD, you're probably going to get them both shipped to you in the mail, unless I'm wrong. I haven't tried to order, so maybe they'll allow you to choose whether you want to download versus get the physical copy in the mail. I don't know. I really don't know. Sorry. Do I think it's true that lyricists often aren't as good at writing catchy hooks as rappers? Definitely. If you listen to my hooks, one of the early criticism about my hooks is they're not really hooks. They're like more verse. They're more rap. And I don't know, like, I'm not a hook kind of dude. Matter of fact, on this album, my man Dayton, who's part of the whole team for Style Wild Productions, Dayton, this cat has a banging testimony and an album coming out pretty soon. You guys really got to hear this cat and his flow. I think you could probably go to myspace.com and maybe try to do a search for Dayton. Matter of fact, let me text him and find out how people can hear his stuff. Crazy, crazy, crazy stuff. But he actually even came through to help me write some hooks on the album, because my hooks were sounding so much like that's just you rapping still. It's not a hook. And then at the end, I ended up not using some of the hooks that he gave me because I said, Dad, I know how to write hooks. I've written hooks before, but I'm so in rap mode right now that I'm not even thinking about hooks. So I kind of went back through the album and wrote some more hook sounding hooks. But I still think at the same time, I'm probably not your hook guy. I can be. I think I had a few joints in the past where I had hooks that really hooked people. Um, but once again, I have a complex, y'all. I confess. I have a complex where writing simplistically really irks me. And hooks, that's the simplistic part of the song. You have to be purposely simplistic. You want it to be catchy. You want people to can't. You want people to not be able to resist saying it again and again and again. And that just it in my soul, it just feels wrong to write simplistically. But I do think lyricists have a hard time because they want to impress you with everything that they write. Um, it's interesting in Bible college they talked about in exegesis when the writers of scripture wrote, they had generally four aims. One was to persuade you, and one of them was to either persuade you, to inform you, to I forget the third one, and then the last one. Yeah, I just lost what I was going to say. Persuade you, to inform you. Um, Dang. This just ruins my point now. Um, Give me a second. I'll come up with it. Meanwhile, let me text Dayton. Um, to impress you. That's what it was. To impress you or impress upon you well, what their theme was. So you catch people in scripture writing in a very artistic way. The Psalms, right? One of the aims there was to impress you, or impress the reader with how this is being put together. And so I think lyricists often have that aim to impress you with what they're actually writing. So when you get to the hook, if I'm still trying to impress you, but you want me to be simplistic, the lyricist says in his mind, it's not going to impress you if I write something simple right here. So why waste time writing something simple when my aim is to impress you? The lyricist goes even throughout the hook, still trying to find a way to impress you with his rhyme scheme or his flow pattern or whatever the case may be. So yeah, lyricists are going to have a hard time writing hooks. Um, what are the benefits of not writing lyrics down, but mentally scribing in your your lyrical pad, and don't worry about forgetting bars? The benefits of not writing lyrics down, the way that I write is I may put a bar together in my head, and then the way I get the next bar is I keep saying the first bar until I find something else that completes that thought lyrically. And the way I get the next bar is I keep repeating the first two, and then the way I get the fourth bar is I repeat the first three. And so because I'm repeating all these bars over and over in my head to get the next bar, I want to find what flows naturally. If I'm sitting down with a pen and a pad, it sounds like, to me, this is just me. I don't hate on people who do, because I think the dudes who do that are very skilled at doing that. But for me, when I sit down with a pen and a pad, it sounds too contrived. If I have a whole list of word choices and I'm trying to find out, okay, I got these 8 words that rhyme, and I got to find out how I'm going to string these words together, that feels too contrived. It doesn't feel organic. But if I do it in my head and I say the first bar and I'm saying to myself, okay, she came into the kitchen and she got herself a snack. Came into a kitchen and she got herself a snack. And I'm thinking to myself, what naturally flows after that bar? And whatever comes as a natural flow to that first bar feels organic. So for me, there's a natural incentive and payoff in just the very fact that it feels organic the way I developed it in my head. I didn't sit down and try to contrive it and make it make sense. It flowed naturally the way I put it together. And doing it that way, it's a lot easier to remember it because you wrote it by repetition. So when I go into the booth, I'm not in the booth with a pad in front of me reading stuff. I'm in the booth coming from the heart and coming from the mind. Let me see. Do I think Christian hip hop is lacking in the international appeal that secular hip hop has? And if so, what can be done um, to appeal to other nationalities? When you say international, do you mean other nationalities or other nations? Because that's a different. But when you say appeal to other nationalities, cultures, and thus expand the ministry, I don't think even secular hip hop has tried to have a cross cultural, like, I'm going to use the word international the way you used it here, even though I don't think you meant international in terms of a foreign land. Um, but even secular hip hop did not go out to appeal to other nationalities. Secular hip hop had the appeal that made other nationalities come to it. And I think Christian hip hop has even seen this idea where other nationalities have come to it. Not that Christian hip hop has said, "Oh, there's people over there that listen to that kind of music. Let's go get them too." I don't think there's anything wrong with doing that, but I think hip hop has always drawn people to itself. Um, what artists' albums am I listening to now? um, to be honest with y'all, I'm gonna share a little bit of my insecurity with you. I haven't been listening to anything since my album was done. Um, I've only been listening to my album for the last, I would say, over a month now, maybe a month and a half, 2 months. Um, because to be honest with you, I'm 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 gearing up myself and trying to prepare myself for the brunt of your opinions, your critiques, and I'm listening to every song, trying to imagine what are they going to say about this, what are they going to say about that verse, that bar, that line, that chorus, that. Um, so, not in a self-consumed, conceited kind of way, but sort of just the insecurity of trying to prepare myself for, so that when you come with your critique, it's not the first time I've heard it because I've said it to myself because I've been listening to it for 2 months. Like, yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I heard that too. Or, no, I don't agree because I've been listening to it for 2 months, and if it was that, I would have heard it by now. So I've been listening to my album, but before I got into that mode, I was listening um, to Disciples album, the Freedom LP. I was listening to Evangel's album, Elevation, um, Elevation Foundation, and I was listening to Young Josh's album. Um, um, that carried me through um, the middle of this year. I was listening to those three albums. Um, anything else? What else was I listening to? That's pretty much it. That was pretty much it. Um, do I plan to release any more projects? We'll see, yo. Now that this album is done, to be honest with you, after tomorrow, after it goes out to all of y'all, I get to finally like relax because it is what it is at this point. Y'all are gonna say what y'all gonna say. Some are gonna enjoy it. Some are gonna, not enjoy it. Um, some are gonna spend some time with it and appreciate it. And I'm probably gonna go back and start listening to the stuff that I missed. I haven't heard Trip's album. I haven't heard the Craze album. I haven't heard Show's last album. A lot of stuff that I missed. So I'm gonna go back and start listening to that. And am I going to do another project? I have had some thoughts for another project, but I don't like forcing it. I wasn't even going to do this album. So if it's not forced and it seems like, um, it seems like I have something to say, then yeah, I'm going to do another album. I have another book that I want to write. So I'm going to write this next book, Lord willing, first, and then that will probably give me fuel for the next album. So we'll see what happens there. Um, This may be a good question. Would I ever do a song with an artist who is a Christian but emphatically states that they do not preach but only want to share life experiences? Um, why would my first question would be, why would somebody emphatically say that? Because anybody I've ever done a song with, I've never gone to them and asked them, yo, you preach, right? All right, let's do it. I don't know what it means to preach versus only share life experiences. Because I think even when you're sharing life experiences, if there's a moral to your story, you've just preached. If you only share life experiences and there's no moral to your story, you never tell us what you learned, you never tell us how you've grown, um, then I don't think I want to do a song with you, because you're not telling me anything. You're showing me a movie and there's no moral to it. Um, so I don't mind if you only tell life experiences. I do mind if your life experiences don't give the listener any experience. All they do is get a view into your life, but they can't grow from it because you didn't have a point. You didn't have um, there was nothing instructive about what should happen after they hear your story. Um, so let me. Oh, shoot! I'm sorry. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. I just got a text that a very good friend of mine's mother was in the hospital and just had a stroke. Um, and a good friend that you all know. Um, hmm. Hope y'all don't mind if we pray for a minute. Hmm. Heavenly Father, thank you for technology such as this, where I can be in my home in Philly and kicking it with your people all over the country and maybe even all over the world. You know the disturbing news I just got. You know what's going on. You know why this is going on. I can only ask, Lord God, that you would prove who you are in this situation, that you're a sovereign God, that you're a loving God, merciful God, um, um, purposeful God, and that I pray that this situation would um, lend itself, it can't help but lend itself to your purpose. Would you heal? Would you comfort? Would you restore? Would you protect um, your people, Lord God, your child who is experiencing this hardship, and all those who are going to be affected by this hardship? Get glory, and may you allow us to peep at that glory. Um, in Jesus' name, amen. Give me 1 second, y'all. I'm sorry. I'll be right with you guys. I just want to respond real quick. Not being rude, y'all. Just for those who just are coming in, something tragic just happened, and I need to need to respond real quick. Um, okay. Sorry, y'all. Um, what are my top 3 hip hop albums of all time? Top 3 hip hop albums of all time. I'm probably gonna have to say the first one that got me into hip hop, Big Daddy Kane's "Long Live the King" would be number one. Um, believe it or not, probably say Most Def's Black on Both Sides. I don't know why, but that album is standing out in my mind right now as a very pivotal hip hop album. Um, and I don't know if you wanted me to blend my Christian picks with my secular picks, but I'm not doing that. I'm giving you all my secular picks. Um, my third, let me think about the third. I don't know. Um, I don't know. Um, what happened to Christ in a hip hopper website? Um, basically, Christ in a hip hopper was an attempt to do something that was actually ended up getting done by another website. Um, the goal of Christ and the Hip Hopper was to take some of the leading names in Christian hip hop and put them in one place so that the foot soldiers, all the people who say, "I want to be on the street team, I want to turn people on to Christian hip hop," I can point people to one place that has all of the names that we've come to know and love and trust. Um, and then not just have one place for all the Christian hip hop leaders, but also have a place where younger guys could say, "Yo, let's just say, young dude starts rapping today and he's killing it, and he sees ChristianHipHopper.com and he says, 'Yo, I see Lecrae, I see Ambassador, I see Truth, I see all these people up there who I respect, and I would love for my ministry to be seen in conjunction with theirs. How can I get my name, my ministry, my da 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 up there with theirs?'" Well, that's why we developed the manual. For those of you who remember the manual that we put out, the idea was to have younger guys going through that manual as a way to give them some form of mentoring and training. And once they go through the manual, they could end up on that site with some of these other trusted names in Christian hip hop. So it was kind of a way to kind of help mentor and bring people to a place where you could find some trustworthy Christian hip hop. But just as I launched ChristinTheHipHopper.com, MySpace was taking off. And when MySpace took off, now you can have your face right next to Truth, right next to Ambassador, right next to Lecrae for nothing without going through any mentoring. All you had to do was request them as your friend and become their friend on MySpace. And now people can see you right next to these names, and you may not have half of the, half of the training that you need to be listed alongside of some of these guys who've been through a little bit of ministry training, but now you seem like you're running neck and neck with them. So the more MySpace took off, the more I said, you know what, ChristianHipHopper.com is not serving the purpose I wanted it to serve, and it was costing me to keep it up, so I let it go. Let me see. We are losing. All right, some of these are getting erased as I scroll down, so let me try to find. How did the Bear Fruit collabo come about? Um, Basically, the cat that's putting it together, Octavius, or maybe he didn't want to be known. Forget I just said that. No, I think people know it's him. My man approached and just said, "Yo, I'm doing this compilation album for this clothing line that I'm about to put out there." And I was sort of like, give me the rundown in terms of what you really think you're gonna do with this clothing line. And when I heard his, let me see. Oh, that's what they named the song, Can Opener? I didn't even know that they named it Can Opener. Um, yeah, if you haven't heard the Bear Fruit joint, I think it's a free download if I'm not mistaken. Uh, you got some of the females I was talking about earlier, Monielle, um, and some of the other cats from Philly, from the group Elisha, Daryl or Stephen the Levite, Trip Lee. A lot of talented people from the area in Philadelphia are on um, this Bear Fruit album. That's a free download, and I did the opening intro, and they named it Can Opener, which I guess is fitting because the project is called Fruit Cocktail. So it just came about because my man asked me if I would be a part of it, and when I heard the idea for the clothing line and what he planned to do with the website, the link, it sort of like I was just talking about with ChristianHipHopper.com. He wants to do something like that with the Bear Fruit idea, and I was sort of with it, so I just jumped on it. Um, Let me see. Let's see. How come me and Iz teamed up on you in '07 in Detroit and clowned you and said you look like Fisher's little brother? You gotta send me an updated picture of you, yo, so I can see what you look like now, because you might still be, baby a Fisher. Um, long lost brother Hazakim. That's hilarious. Um, Bring back scratching. Hmm. You know what? I just realized at this very moment that my album has no scratching on it. I just realized that. I didn't even think about it throughout the whole course of the album. That's sad, isn't it? What do I think of the prevalence of bootlegging in Christian hip hop and Christian hip hop music in general? I think the prevalence of bootlegging in Christian hip hop is a testimony to our weak morals. Um, the very fact that you can take what somebody put out there for sale and you get it for free. I don't care whether it's your man bought it and they let you burn it onto your laptop or whatever the case may be. Um, I think that is, um, to me, I think it's deplorable. I think it's stealing. My whole family knows we're gonna have Thanksgiving this week, right? And we're gonna get together, and somebody's gonna pull out some bootleg DVDs, like, "Yo, I got that new such and such," and it's still in the movie theater. And they know as long as I'm in the room, we're not gonna watch a bootleg. Oh, we can't watch it, Brady. He don't watch the bootlegs because I know what it's like as an artist to have somebody else steal from you. And for me watching a bootleg movie is like somebody saying, "Yo, I love your album. Oh, that's what's up. Yeah, I burned it from my man." I'm like, I'm glad you enjoyed it, but at the same time, you got it for nothing, and it didn't cost me nothing to make it. It cost me something to make it. Cost me something to put together, and cost me something to get to you, and somehow you got it for free. Um, I feel slightly different if somebody says, "Yo, I burned it and gave it out as an evangelistic CD." I still don't think it's okay, but I'm sort of like, but to God be the glory. But if it's just for your listening pleasure and you didn't pay for it, I think that's stealing. And I think that as Christians, we need to do a better job at holding each other accountable for, like, not just, "Oh, well, I got it for free. What you going to do?" Like, I know that's what we do in the world, but I think that's part of the world that's not redeemable. There's some parts of this world that are redeemable, and we should redeem it. I don't think that's redeemable. I think that's sin. Um, I say that for any artist. If you have music, right? Here's one of the things I do. I do let people, if I bought a CD and somebody else says, "Yo, let me hear that," I will even, because the technology is here, I think we ought to find ways to use it. I will even allow somebody to burn a copy of something that I bought under one condition. If you listen to this CD and you like it and you find yourself listening to it on the regular, then go buy it. Only reason I'm giving you this CD, this burned copy, is as advertising, as marketing, as promotion. If you like this joint, go buy it. Other than that, you're stealing. And I feel bad because I'm helping you. So I think we're going to hold each other accountable to that. A lot more Christians will be selling Lecrae numbers if we stop burning each other's music. Think about that. Um, how did I get hooked up with Disciple and end up doing a track with him on his CD and my CD? Um, Disciple goes back to, that better not be Disciple asking this question. JJ34, I doubt it. Disciple goes back to early on some of our first shows in Boston back in 1999, I think, 97, 98. Disciple was a young buck. I was the youngest of Cross Movement, and he was like mad years younger than me. I got you by like 10 years, D. I think he's like 10 years younger than me, or maybe like 7 or 6 years younger. Either way, he was a young buck. But he came up to the show. He was with a pastor friend that we knew. And he just was always in the crowd, or in the crew we hung with when we came to Boston. And at some point, it was revealed to us that he spit. And I think him and Ambassador kicked it the most. He was very, very heavily influenced by the ministry of CM, us being a Northeast hip hop crew, and his flow was always just sick, tight. Always had he was you thought Ambassador had similes for days. This cat had similes for years, and had a sick flow. And I think maybe about 3 years ago, maybe Di hit me up, Disciple hit me up, and we just started talking about the prospect of me maybe helping to disciple him a little bit or mentor him. And we had the manual that ChristianHipHopper.com put together, or I put together under ChristianHipHopper.com. We had the manual, so I sent Disciple the manual, and I said, okay, well, we've known each other for mad years. Let's go through this manual together. So we took about maybe, I don't know, probably about maybe 4 months, I guess. And just every week we got up on the phone and went through the manual, just chopped it up, chopped it up, chopped it up. And after we went through the manual, it was like, yo, we done with that. Let's just keep building. And so he and I just kept building. And before you know it, it came time for his album. And it just seemed like a natural fit. That's why I even said at the beginning of the song on his album, after all that building off the mic, maybe, you know what I mean, now it's time for us to build on the mic. So when it came time for me to do the album, after I was on his project, I was doing my album, and he was down here one day, and I just was like, yo, you know what? I think on this album, I need to get you on something just to represent on the mic what we've been doing off the mic, and it just made sense. Let me see. What do I see as my role in the Christian hip hop industry behind music? Behind music, I think my role, or at least I'd like to see my role become, I want to forge a new path, not just in Christian hip hop, but in Christian thought. In Christian thought, I don't see a lot of Christian thought that includes hip hop in a scholarly way. And so part of the aim of my book was to help translate the Christian college classroom to Christian hip hop, while at the same time translating the street corner culture to the collegiate world. And so I think part of my role in Christian hip hop beyond music is going to be to be sort of like um, a translator, a linguist, helping the church and the college world understand the streets, helping the streets understand, um, you know, the dialogue of the church and the dialogue of the college classroom. So I want to forge a new path in that. Um, I want to help Christian hip hoppers learn to talk our theological content in terms that register and resonate with the culture that we encounter today. If you listen to the Phanatik Speaks series that I did, the video series I did on YouTube, I talked about the conversation I had with Willie Will, where Willie Will said, you know, he talked about how he got more into his faith and got deeper in understanding the gospel. And I asked him, like, does it seem like the deeper you got in your theology, the less you found yourself talking to the non-believer and more to the believer? He's like, yeah, yo, I don't know how that happened. And one of the things I'm intent on doing is trying to help Christian hip hop get deeper in your theology and get better at talking to the non-believer at the same time, as opposed to you're only good at talking to the non-believer when you have no theology, but then when you learn theology, now you can't talk to the non-believer, you only talk to the Christian. I think that's backwards, and I want to see us get deeper in our faith and get better at talking to the non-believer at the same time. So I'm hoping that that's going to be the role that I play. My book is, to me, the perfect example of my aim to do that. The book, The Death of Hip Hop, Marriage, and Morals, shows you how I do it. Just so that you know, my book was really not written to Christians. It's written to Christians, but sort of in a roundabout sort of way. If you're familiar with C.S. Lewis had a book in the middle of the 20th century. He had a book called Mere Christianity. Mere Christianity has become a staple in the Christian diet. If you're a Christian and you want to get up on good Christian books, the first book people will push you to is Mere Christianity. But if you know the history of that book, Mere Christianity was not written to Christians. Mere Christianity was a 10-series radio broadcast that C.S. Lewis did during World War II. They asked him to come on the radio and speak to the non-believing world in England about this war and why so much destruction and disaster and evil is befalling them. So he's talking to non-Christians from a Christian worldview. And it's a banging book. It's evangelistic as a mug, but before you knew it, it became a Christian bestseller. But the broadcast was to non-Christians. So I think my book is the same way. It's written to the non-believer to walk them from their cultural issues to moral issues to philosophical issues to theological answers. But the Christian who reads it is going to also find much food for thought and food for the soul. So I think that's sort of going to be my role in Christian hip hop. Who designed my book cover and album cover? That guy's a beast at graphics. The greatest in my opinion. That was posted by Samson J. And the guy who designed my book and my album cover happens to be named J something Samson. So I wonder if there's a connection between you and him. Judeus Samson did the book cover and the album cover, and he is a beast, growing in it at the same time. And also got to give a shout out to Tawala, Joshua Tawala, T-Walla of Style Wild Productions. He did about 8 of the 12 tracks on the album, and laced me. Bless the brother. I got to give a shout out to Psalmist, aka Mike, down in Baltimore. He has been a tremendous blessing in everything I did on this album, from recording to the promo videos. You keep seeing that 6-cent commercials. That brother was a part of everything I did on this album. Geo, also known as God Sent from Lancaster, was a humongous blessing in terms of helping to mix the album. Hope Records, my man E. Panero, tremendous blessing in getting this album done. This album was not just me. There's so many people who came together to make this album happen. That had it been left to me, this would not have gotten done. I leaned on the expertise and the just the generosity of mad people to get this album done. Um, who was the first Christian MC I heard and was impressed by? Enoch. Enoch, who was one of the founding members of the Cross movement, who passed away a little over a year ago. He was the first Christian rapper that I heard and was impressed by. Before Enoch, I had heard Transformation Crusade. My aunt tried to play them for me, and I was not feeling them whatsoever. So yeah, Enoch said it. And once I heard Enoch, I actually lied. I lied to Enoch and said, yo, I do that too. And he let me start rapping with him. And I started getting good the more I learned the gospel. But I was mad corny at first. Let me see. All right, somebody's saying this page is fake. Christians doing something. My man, I hope you stick around long enough to take a listen to some of the music and some of the content of what's going on here. Even if you think that hip hop is fake, the message in the music is definitely not fake. You're looking at some cats right now who believe they have an antidote for much of what is plaguing this world. Think about where you live, think about your society, think about the culture, think about your neighborhood, think about your block. Much of what's plaguing us right now, we don't have very many solutions in this world. We have a lot of what's called placebos, right? Placebos are, here, take this pill, but it's really not going to solve anything. It's just going to make you feel like you're doing something about it, but in the morning, your issue will still be there. So myself and a lot of the people on this page and on this website on Rapzilla.com, you're talking to people who, even if you don't like the music, we believe we're dealing in real answers, real solutions to the problems we're facing. The problems of why am I here, the problems of why are you here, the problems of how come we can't agree on what's right and we got to work this out and live together in the same world. Is there a standard? Is there a source, an authority on this thing we're trying to solve here? We believe we have true answers, yo. So for the sake of your soul, we pray that you investigate our answers. And the person of Jesus Christ, this person who comes and claims to be God in the flesh. Who can make a claim like that? But then when you peep his record, when you peep the things that are written about him, you peep the way history, human history revolves around him, you find yourself saying there must be more to this Jesus than I once thought. So I don't know if you're still on the page. I see at 10:40 you found yourself getting frustrated with this page and you was about to leave. And I'm scrolling down. I don't see your name anymore after about 10:45 or so. So I hope you're still here. Yeah. Let me try to find some more questions here. All right. How did the collab with Propaganda and Willie Will come about? I would imagine that question is being asked because it doesn't seem like a likely collaboration, right? What's the dude from Cross Movement Records doing rapping with a dude from the Tunnel Rats? It was actually like very, very interesting. First of all, the song that Propaganda and Willie Will are on is the song Surprise Party, which is attached to Sweet 16s, right? Sweet 16s is double entendre. it's talking about spitting your hottest 16 bar verse, but it's also talking about maturing, going from infancy to maturity in the faith. Um, so I was at Legacy in 2010 in Chicago, and I was at the back. I think Shylin was on stage, and a cat came up to me and said, "Yo, just wanted to give honor where honor's due, yo. I'm Propaganda." And I remember Propaganda's name from back in the days of Tunnel Rats, dealing with Tunnel Rats. And I sort of stopped and I was like Propaganda from Tunnel Rats? He was like, yeah. And I was sort of shocked, like, I wouldn't expect, not that we have like any love lost for Tunnel Rats, like there's love, like we always had love for each other, just a difference of philosophy of ministry. So when he said, "Yo, giving honor where honor's due," I was like, man, that sort of shocked me. Um, and so anyway, we sort of kicked it in the back of the concert for a little bit, and then he went up on stage and did a spoken word piece as he was introducing me at Legacy, and the spoken word piece it was killer. Not just the what he was saying, but from what I remember about the Tunnel Rats, they were not used to going vertical a lot. Their thing was a lot more, horizontal. I'm going to talk about issues that go this way, not really going to address issues that go this way and pointing people to God overtly. I may do it more covertly. But there was something overt in what he was doing that made me sort of say, wow, this is sort of different. And he even said to me before we went on stage, he said, "Yo, hope he doesn't mind me sharing this," but he said it feels like I've only learned how to rap in the last couple of years of my life. I'm like, wait a minute, you're a beast. What do you mean you just learned how to rap? And he said, no, I feel like now I'm doing adult hip hop. And the second he said adult hip hop, I immediately thought about my song Sweet 16s. I said, dang, he's talking about the very concept of my song. So I didn't think much more about it. I came back to Philadelphia. I was chilling. And next thing I know, I started hearing brothers talk well about Propaganda. Like, yo, this dude is everywhere killing it and taking cats vertical, taking them to the throne in terms of the end of what he's saying overtly. So then I called up some cats from Legacy, Brian and those guys, and I asked them, like, yo, what's the deal with Prop? And they told me, like, yo, he's representing strong overtly for the Lord right now. And so I said, yo, can I get his number? I just want to holler at the brother. And I called Propaganda, and we just started kicking it. Just got on the phone, had a very long conversation, a very frank and honest conversation about the past, things that had been said, things that had been assumed, things that Cross Movement didn't say, nor did Tunnel Rat say, but people were saying that they said. Philosophy of ministry in terms of, how do you think it goes? Had a mutual respect for each other. And I told him about the song. I said, yo, what you said to me at Legacy is the exact nature of the song that I'm going to do called Sweet 16s. And I want to invite you on it. And the brother was with it, said, yo, let's do it. And so that was a lot. Willie Will always been a good brother, always been down, always had mad respect for his skill. And I think about maybe about 4 months ago, he came from the West Coast, from the Northwest, and was at Epiphany for a church service. And we just connected. We just reconnected like old friends. Like, yo, how you been? Oh, what's going on? And it just was so good to see this brother still standing in the faith, still standing firm. I don't know about some of you guys. Some of y'all are kind of young. Some of you guys go back. But it's very strange to have started doing Christian hip hop in 1993, 92, 93. To go so far down the line, 15, 16, 17 years in, and look around and ask yourself, man, where are all the dudes that started with us? And you see some of them still standing. You see some of them kind of going on to do different things. Some of them not standing so well anymore. And so whenever you find another brother, another soldier who's standing very strong, something inside you leaps. Um, and so when I saw Willie Will, I just said, "Yo, this is banging." Like another dude um, who started way back when we started, and he's still standing to this very day. Um, and once again, I thought about that concept of Sweet 16s, growing up in this thing, maturing. And so he got back to the West Coast. Me and Willie Will started kicking it, got on the phone, had a great conversation, and it just seemed like a natural fit. So that's how Willie Will and Propaganda ended up on the remix to Sweet 16s. Um, oh, okay. Let me begin to remind you guys. I hate the self promotion, but I do gotta say this is a listening party. So the album, you can listen to the album right now, the whole album, for the next couple hours. It'll still be out. Listen to the whole album right here on Rapzilla.com, and also see intro videos where I'm explaining each song. And tomorrow the album comes out in stores and it's available on iTunes, but you can pre-order right now. Go to www.crossmovement.com, and you can also get it from iTunes.com. If you go to crossmovement.com, you can get my new book, The Death of Hip Hop, Marriage, and Morals, and the album for under $20 right now. So please, y'all, go cop. Don't wait till your man get it and burn it from your man. Like, we gotta stop that. We are killing our industry, or we're killing these people that we say we support and we love by not copying their albums. And I do think at the same time, you know, if you listen to the album, one of the things I've heard about the album is, you know, the more I listen to it, the more it grows on me. The more I see what you were doing in this song, how this song ties into that song. I wanted to do an album where you don't just pick certain songs you like and only listen to those, but you get the whole album. And the more you listen to the different parties, you see how the parties play into each other. So I think what I'm saying is, don't sit back and say, I'm not feeling this beat, or I'm not feeling that, or I only like the verse, or I like the. Don't pick and choose. You got to get the album and listen to the album as a whole to even see why this song went this way, why this sounded like that. So listen to the album as a whole. Some people feel the guy singing on Welcome Party. Some people feel the guy singing on Welcome Party didn't fit. What do you think? My man Mojo, Matt Wojcinski from Supertones. If you guys remember Supertones, I think he fit. I think he fit for what I was trying to do in the song. I was actually asking. I had a couple different people try that hook, and I was asking them to hit a note that was hard for some people to hit. So some of the guys are going falsetto to hit it. But I like what Matt did in terms of trying to deliver what I was asking for. I think he gives the feel that I was looking for. I want to hear some dudes who are more into. I'm not saying that I think it's perfect or that you should just learn to like it. I think I was going for a certain sound. When K-Drama did the beat and I heard it, I said, yeah, I want a live rock feel. And when you hear it, I don't want you to hear a polished studio sound. I want you to feel like you're listening to a live rocker just singing his heart out on this joint. So some of the emotion or some of the just raw emotional data, I think he brought that to it. So I do think what he did on the chorus to Welcome Party actually fits. If you don't, hopefully you can bear with it long enough to get to what I'm saying in the verses, because to me, the verses on Welcome Party open the album up perfectly. One of my favorite songs on the album, wow. Every song has a different, I don't know. It's crazy. I've looked at some of the reviews I've got, right? I got a review on Holy Culture. They gave it 8.5 out of 10 stars. I got a review on another site. They gave it 4 out of 5 stars. And both of those sites gave it an excellent rating, but both of those sites liked different songs on the album. So the songs that one site said, "Ah, these songs were forgettable," the other site said these were my favorite songs. Um, so I don't know. I think everybody's gonna have different favorites, but the more you live with the album, I think the songs are gonna grow on you as you understand. Ah, here's what he was doing in this song. But I think, to be honest with you, one of my favorite songs right now on the album is "Slumber Party." Um, some of you guys got it, some of you guys didn't. "Slumber Party" is actually based on the movie Inception. Um, if you haven't seen Inception, the DVD comes out in 3 weeks. No, 2 weeks. The DVD comes out in 2 weeks, which is perfect timing. I'm filming the video for Inception in a couple of weeks. Also, I mean, not for Inception. I'm sorry, for Slumber Party in a couple of weeks. But when I was writing a song called Slumber Party, and actually, now that I think about it, the song Slumber Party was really supposed to be me and Disciple, talking about dudes just like don't sleep on the Lord. But I was writing the track. I got the track from my man Sean in Florida, and I heard the track. I was like, oh, this track is alright. I like it. And I started listening to it, and I started writing this verse. And I went and I saw Inception. I was like, okay, cool. Then I went back and I saw the movie a second time, because if you see Inception, you've got to see it at least 2 or 3 times. I saw it the second time, and next thing I know, I went back to finish writing the song Slumber Party. I said, wait a minute. I don't know how, but the song Slumber Party, the way I started writing it, started sounding like a dream in the first place. And when you listen to the music even sounds like the chimes you hear when you're watching TV and somebody starts daydreaming. I said, Dad, this music already sounds like you're dreaming. The verse I started writing sounds like a dream. The movie Inception is about dreaming. I should just make this whole song follow the movie Inception. So if you listen to the song Pity Party, at the end of Pity Party, there's an intro for Slumber Party that sort of sounds like a scene from the movie. And I promise you, the more you listen to the song Slumber Party, if you watch the movie Inception, you're going to hear like mad references to the movie, where if you haven't seen the movie, or if you only saw the movie once, or if you saw it and forgot it, Slumber Party just sounds like an okay song. Once you see the movie and listen to the song comes alive. So you got to peep the song in light of the movie. Right now, Slumber Party is my favorite song on the album because of the way it's mirroring that movie. Let me move on. Let me move on. Praise Party hit me upside my dome. Yeah, Praise Party is another one of my favorites on the album. But once again, you've got to hear the song in the context. If you don't hear the interludes on the album, you won't get Praise Party unless you really pay attention to the lyrics. You gotta pay attention to the lyrics on that one. But the interludes make the song make a lot more sense. But I do love the song, one of my favorites on the album. Let's see here. What is my opinion on using secular music to remake holy hip hop songs? I used to care a whole lot about that. I used to care a whole lot about that when I come from the era where your beat was your signature. This was before the days of, everybody putting out their instrumentals for you to remix it. So back in the days, your beat was your signature. So back in those days, I didn't like it when your gospel came with the signature of a secular artist, especially when it was a very popular song. And to me, it always felt like you were trying to use the success of that secular song to give your gospel validation. I don't like it if it feels like you're trying to validate your gospel with an already accepted secular sound. You accept that track, don't you? Okay, well then accept my message on top of it. I think that's corny, and it makes the gospel look corny when the gospel needed 50 cents beat underneath it for you to make it palatable. But today I don't think it's quite the same. Today I think people put out instrumentals and other people use them for all kinds of reasons, not because the beat had secular success, but simply because you can do that now. So hopefully that makes sense. Do you listen to any artists in the Christians that rap camp, like Deep Space Five, Braille, etc.? No, but they shouldn't, don't take that as an insult, because I barely listen to Christian hip hop artists who are Christians. Christians. Wait, what's the other one? Christians rapping. I guess that's the other one. I barely get a chance to listen to Christian hip hop as a whole, but then when I do, now I don't really gravitate towards the camp that says we're Christians. I think you may have got it wrong. Christians that rap are not the ones who are on the Deep Space Five camp. The Deep Space Five camp and those guys are the way the arguments were historically framed. They were more of the guys who said we're rappers who happen to be Christians, as opposed to cats who are more on the lamp mode CM side said no, we're Christians that happen to be rappers. So Christians that happen to be rappers are people who you're going to catch the Christ-centeredness coming through them, because they said, now I'm Christian first and I just happen to be a rapper. The rapper who just happens to be a Christian, you may not necessarily catch overt Christian content coming from them. And do I listen to any of those guys? I don't really, though I like Braille. I love Braille live. I haven't had a chance to listen to a lot of his recorded stuff, but live, I love the brother. And then just outside of hip hop, I love what he stands for. So, let me see. There's no way in the world you're going to get me to talk about that. What do I think about the compatibility between God's sovereignty and human freedom in light of axiomatic perspective, as well as a did you mean monolithic point of view? No way in the world, because it's already 11:14. Ain't no way in the world I'm talking about that. Okay, so I see cats are feeling slumber party. That's what's up. I just got a call from DJ DJ Will in Jacksonville today, and keep saying Willie Will. DJ Will was like, "Yo, pizza party." He was feeling pizza party, and I was surprised. I didn't think I would get love on pizza party from dudes outside of the Northeast, but that's what's up. Somebody's asking again, will the pre-orders receive a download of the album? Let me see if I can get you an answer on that, because I don't know. I don't know. I'm going to text right now, try to find out. All right, just so you guys know, it's 11:15. I know Cat's got to work tomorrow, and I got to sleep tonight. So I'm jumping off of here. I'm going to probably go till about 11:30, maybe 11:45, and then I'm going to let you guys return to your life. Somebody said Will is like Coogee Rap. Will is like the Coogee Rap of Christian hip hop. So I'm like, Willie Will? I can see that. I can see that. Yo, if you haven't heard Willie Will's verse on Surprise Party, do yourself a favor and just go check it out. Killed it. Probably my favorite verse on the whole cipher. Probably one of my favorite verses on the whole album. Who do I think is the illest Christian rapper right now? Obviously, other than myself, they put. Um, illest Christian rapper right now. Well, here's what I learned when I went down south. I did a listening party down at the studio that Reach and them have down there, and they were saying on Slumber Party, they were like, "Yo, I thought you was gonna go in on that joint. You ain't go in." This is before I re-recorded it. I said, "What you mean go in?" I did go in. For dudes in the Northeast, when we say go in, we mean lyrically. Like, did you kill it lyrically or conceptually? Did you do something that somebody else would not have thought of? But dudes in the South, I guess, when they said go in, they could care less about that. They were saying, nah, I meant just on the emotion and on the, you know what I mean? And so even when you use words like, who do I think is killing it right now? I got a feeling when I say killing it, I may mean something completely different than somebody in another region is going to mean. So that's a hard question to answer because killing it for me may be different for you. But I will state this for the record. I said this at the beginning of this session. I think Stephen the Levite's appetizer on the Forerunner LP that he just put out, that has got to be the illest Christian hip hop song to me ever at this point. What he did with those bars, rhyme scheming back and forth between these 4 bars and these 4 bars, and kept that back and forth going throughout the whole song, that is mind blowing. So I would say that's probably one of my favorites right now. And to me, I told Stephen the Levite this. I think in the past year or so, he's gotten much better at recording his style. His style has always been ridiculous, but the way he records it now is probably going to help people appreciate it a lot more. So to me, he's one of the illest right now. Good thinking on the Shabbat thing. I don't know what the Shabbat thing is, but I just heard somebody just told me that Shabbat was on Holy Culture saying he was trying to get at me. So I do plan to get up with Shabbat soon. And I hope and pray the brother's doing very, very well right now. Who are all the producers on the record? There's only 3 producers on the record. You got K-Drama, who did the Welcome Party. You got Chris Beats, who did Pool Party, which is one of my favorites. Chris Beats also did Praise Party, another one of my favorites. And he was part of Pity Party, another one of my favorites. And then Tawala, Joshua Tawala, aka T-Walla, he did the other 8 songs on the album and killed it. And then there's a bonus. I'm sorry, there's one more producer. There's a bonus. The Pool Party remix was done by Preppy Swag and what's my man's name? I forget my man's name. Sorry, my man, for forgetting your name, yo. You've only seen Inception once, see it again. And like I said, the banging thing is the DVD comes out in 2 weeks, and I'm shooting the movie for Slumber Party in 3 weeks. So that's gonna be hot. But once you see the movie again, peep Slumber Party and tell me if you can't appreciate that joint a little bit more. I think Inception was probably, I'm a movie dude. I think Inception was instantly my favorite movie of all time. It was that good. So yeah. Have I ever thought of doing a listener's guide for the album? Sounds like you got a lot of hidden gems in the lyrics. I do have a lot of hidden gems, but I feel like a listener's guide is like, I want you to go on a treasure hunt. Like when I was younger, I remember sitting and listening to albums and feeling like I had to decode the lyrics. Like, did I get everything he was doing lyrically there? And when I found the gems, I loved it. And I've heard people say this, like, one of the things that people actually appreciate about my music is the way that I try to write is so that every time you go back to a song of mine, you get something that you didn't catch before. Either an analogy, some wordplay, some imagery, alliteration, some theological content, a practical application, a cultural reference. There's always going to be something that you didn't catch because I try to write in layers. I personally, I'm not a fan of hip hop where you get everything the first time you listen to it. The Bible's not like that. There's no way in the world you can get everything the first time you listen, the first time you read through. So when you hear my music, I hope that when you go back to it, each time you're like, "Dang, I didn't catch that he was doing that right there." Sort of like the mustard joint on Recess. Some people to this day still don't know what you're talking about when you, like, if you just type the code word mustard or must have heard, and you're referring back to the wordplay on that song. Some people to this day who've heard the song numerous times still are like, what do you mean he ordered lunch in the third verse? Like, because they haven't even caught it yet. Would a listener's guide help people like that? Yeah, it would, but I still feel like I want them to have that aha moment for themselves where they go back and like, oh, I get it now. I get it now. Those, to me, those are just great moments that I don't want to rob somebody of. So what are you going to do? I'm still reading. All right, let me see. Have I ever thought about singing on tracks? No. I used to sing on a choir back when I was a kid. And the only good thing about that was I was surrounded by 40 other people who were singing. Um, so yeah, if you heard me sing on the track, you'd never listen to me again. You want me kicked out of heaven just in case I might potentially sing um, in the kingdom. um, yeah, Will killed it. Yep. With or without auto tunes, definitely. I would need auto tunes, auto clefs, auto any other kind of musical device you can get me. Uh oh. Looks like I'm catching up with all the questions. I'm almost at the bottom of all the questions. Okay. Is that it? I'm at the end of the questions. All right. Um, Once again, y'all, the album comes out tomorrow. Party over here. Did y'all peep this? I don't know if y'all peeped this, but right behind me, the curtains behind me, when I opened my laptop, I said, "Dag, those circles on the curtain look just like the circles on the album cover," and that's crazy. I didn't even plan that. Um, I had these pillows, right? These throw pillows on my couch for like months, and then about maybe 2 weeks ago, my mother found curtains that match these throw pillows. And so I just put these curtains up last week, and it's bugged out that I'm sitting here in front of these curtains looking like the album cover. So I just thought that was funny. I don't know if anybody else caught that. Um, no more questions, yo? Yo, definitely. Um, I appreciated you guys being here tonight. Um, it was a pleasure kicking it with y'all. Let me see. I just saw something else. Advice for local up and coming artists who have been successful locally but seeking larger distribution. Ah, I wish we wouldn't. I wish we wouldn't, y'all. I think right now one of the best things you can have is local success, and then flip that local success into a local ministry where you're doing more than just rap. I think some of us need to stop trying to go bigger than local. I really do. Because if you're trying to go bigger than local, God can do that with you, and that may be tight if He does do that with you, but I don't see where that's a need anymore. I think there was a need for somebody to go bigger than local back in the day when you didn't have 1,000,001 Christian hip hop artists out there. Now you've got more than you need. We don't need another national Christian artist unless your only goal is, yo, I'm a musician. Can I get my music out there? Then fine, do that. But I'm not the guy to go to tell you how to get your music out there. If you're talking about ministry, I think some of us need to stop trying to be more than local. And we need to focus on how can I flip my local success, recognition, whatever, into a local ministry where I become tangible and touchable to the people that I say I want to reach. Some people want a national ministry so that they can become untouchable. I float in town, I float out of town, and I don't touch people. I spent the last 3 years in the public schools in Philadelphia because I found out, yo, guess what? I can touch people now. I'm tangible. They can touch me. I can minister. As opposed to I come to your town once a year, I see you in a crowd, and I say, yo, see you next year. Like, okay, that's ministry, but I can touch so many more lives locally. So I'm sorry, not to dish you for asking that question at all. I'm just saying, I think some of us need to stop worrying about how to get bigger than local. And if God wants you bigger than local, He'll take you there. So sorry if I'm not really answering the question the way you want. Don't I want the message God has to reach more? I do, but I think it's going to reach more regardless. I think for you to blow up and go national, that was a need back when there weren't 1,000,000 people locally able to kill it for the Lord. Now that you have 1,000,001 people, you don't need to go national for the message to reach more. That's just something that I want us to consider. I think we need to consider that. All right, it's 11:29, and the questions are not coming as swift. So let me just say in closing, I do think that the Lord has blessed a brother to be able to present something that Christian hip hop needs right now. I think Christian hip hop needs to spread its wings. I remember back when I talk about this in my book, when Young Jeezy was on the radio in New York, and he got into a debate with Moni Love, and they were debating. This is back in '06, around the time when Nas said hip hop is dead, and Jeezy took offense, like, "Yo, I can't respect that. How you gonna say hip hop is dead when I'm doing what I'm doing with these numbers right now?" And Moni Love's response to Jeezy was, "Only reason why we're saying hip hop is dead is because only one facet of hip hop is getting light right now. And the culture is not just about street hustling and selling drugs. And because that's the only facet of the culture that's getting light, there's so many other styles of hip hop that aren't getting light that we can say hip hop is dead." I think Christian hip hop is the same way, where unless some other styles and facets of Christian hip hop begin to get light, it's going to begin to feel like, yo, Christian hip hop is dying. So I think the angle and the approach, not just stylistically, but even the angle and the content, the way this album is coming, is something that Christian hip hop can use right now, and even something that younger cats can take and say, even if I don't like Phanatik's style, let me look at his approach and say, is there something that I can learn from this? But I do think there are some gems, y'all, some truly enjoyable gems on this album. That if you get a chance to get it and sit with it, you will enjoy this album. You'll be able to share with other people. You'll be able to listen to it again and again and get something new every time. T. Wilder killed it with the tracks. Hopefully the lyrics were very thoughtful and very, very well crafted, and you're going to hear the Lord speaking to you through the lyrics on this album, through the storytelling, through the truth that's sown throughout. Party Over Here is available right now. Crossmovement.com. The book, the album, you can get them together for under $20. Or if you just want the book, you can go to urbanremixproject.com, get the book for $12. You can also just cop the CD from crossmovementrecords.com. You can get the CD from iTunes.com. It comes out in 28 minutes, y'all, tomorrow. So spread the word, represent, support, don't bootleg. You know what I mean? And let's see what the Lord will do. Met cats who feeling your style on my job. Some heathen cats. Can I burn them a CD? Pray first that the Lord will enlarge your territories and bless you to be able to cop an album for them. And if the Lord doesn't enlarge your territories and you got to burn it to be able to evangelistically bless them, then do what you do. But Christians, don't be burning it for other Christians. Like, if you're a believer, support. All right. All right, y'all. Much love. I'm not going anywhere other than off of here. You can still holler at me. Facebook. You can find me on Facebook. Brady Goodwin. In parentheses, you'll find Phanatik. Twitter, you can hit me on Twitter. Phanatik on Twitter. Do people still check MySpace? I haven't used MySpace in like 4 years. Maybe I'll hit that back up. Can you email? Yes, you can email me at jcphanatik, JC, Jesus Christ, Phanatik, that's Phanatik, at yahoo.com. jcphanatik at yahoo.com. Judea said, what's MySpace? Exactly, right? Cool. All right, y'all. I'm out of here. It was a pleasure. Oh, let me just mention this too. I will be hitting the road again. I haven't been traveling for the last couple of years, but hitting the road again. I got a book signing in New Jersey on December 3rd. Doing a mini tour in Florida from December 17th through like the 20th. From Orlando to Jacksonville to Miami to Tampa. I'll be at the Impact Conference in Atlanta on December 29th. Speaking to the singles there, and I'm looking to get on the road, so let's get the booking going. I want to come through to your town. If you're on a college campus, I want to come through and speak. High schools, I want to come through and speak. You know, you got a spot to rock a concert, I want to come through and rock the concert, album celebration. Let's do it, y'all. For booking, you can go to info, I-N-F-O, info at urbanremixproject.com for booking. All right, so I'm gone. Much love, y'all, and I will see you on the battlefield or in the kingdom.